story. The military charging Army Sergeant Bowe Bergdahl with desertion and misbehavior before the enemy over his 2009 disappearance from his remote base in Afghanistan. At the same time, we are learning that most of the Taliban commanders freed by the White House in exchange for Bergdahl are now trying to return to terror. Earlier, I spoke to State Department spokesperson Jen Psaki. Jen, good to see you again. And so,
great to be here, Megan.
As folks look at, the fact that Bowe Bergdahl is now being charged, and we have these 3 of the 5 Taliban commanders trying to return to terror, they're asking this question: was it worth it?
Well, let me first say, as you know, as a lawyer, this is a military justice issue being handled by the Army. This is a step in the process, and there are many steps past here. Was it worth it? Absolutely. We have a commitment to our men and women serving in our military, defending our national security every day, that we're going to do everything to bring them home if we can, and that's what we did in this case.
The folks of this say, yes, we do have a commitment to bringing every man and woman home. However, there were other means of doing it. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Megan, I think there are always a range of decisions, and tough decisions the President of the United States always has to make, and that's been the case for decades. It doesn't reach his desk unless it's a tough decision. That was certainly the case here.
It was a tough decision, but was it the right decision? I mean, that's the question. They look at the 3 of these 5 Taliban guys is trying to return to terror now, and they didn't need to be released from Gitmo.
This is a commitment that we have made. We have long made. We've made for decades. We have the ability to track and work with the Qataris. The reason that we know that individuals reportedly were online and engaging with individuals they shouldn't be, it's because we track it. It means the system of tracking works.
What about the fact that the supervision of these 5 top Taliban commanders over in Qatar is supposed to end in 2 months? That doesn't seem like a good idea.
Well, obviously these plans and agreements are designed, and they'll be discussed, and we will do everything we can to ensure that the proper precautions and requirements are in place with the government of Qatar. 2 months from now is a long time as it relates to diplomacy.
Wasn't this at base an effort to get these 5 guys out of Gitmo? There was no other way to get them out. This is a way of getting out some of the most controversial prisoners there in exchange, on paper, for a serviceman who at least Susan Rice was telling us, served honorably.
Well, this was an effort to bring an individual home who served his country.
This is what the critics say. It wasn't so much about getting Bergdahl back as it was about getting these guys out, something the critics say was a big mistake given what we've seen with them.
Well, Megan, first, we have not seen evidence. Yes, we've seen sorts of online activity, but again, that means we're tracking it, and that process of working with the Qataris is working.
What really worked is that we kept them in jail.
Put into place.
That's the best way. We don't have to monitor anything. They're behind bars.
Well, Megan, I think the President's been clear that it's in our national security interest to close Gitmo, but this was about bringing home an individual who served his country.
What did you make of? Some of the folks today are saying, look, did the President know when he struck this deal? Did he know that Bowe Bergdahl was a potential deserter? Why did he have the big ceremony in the Rose Garden? Why was there so much pomp and circumstance trying to celebrate this man when, at a minimum, he is a very controversial figure?
Well, if we're not prejudging today, we certainly weren't prejudging almost a year ago when this decision was made and when Sergeant Bergdahl was brought home.
And, to those who wonder why Susan Rice went out there and told the world that this man served with honor and distinction, as now his own army turns around and says, no, you did not, sir. You deserted the men and women in uniform, and you deserted your platoon mates. You say what? Susan Rice was wrong?
Well, I would say, Megan, that the Army has taken steps through their military process. We won't prejudge the outcome of those steps.
Do you think he served with honor and distinction? Did Susan Rice have it right?
I think that we look at Sergeant Bergdahl as somebody who served his country, as many men and women have. It's been quite some time since we brought him home, and there's been some time for those in the military justice system to take a look at this case, and we'll all be the judge of that once that decision's made.
Stay tuned, because coming up next, for the first time, we get to ask Ms. Psaki about her former boss and the Hillary Clinton email controversy threatening Secretary Clinton's political future. Don't you believe that the Secretary of State should be the highest standard, that more should be expected of her, not less? Her response to that in moments.